2026 is already shaping up to be a huge year of indie games. We've already had titles like Cairn, Eugenics, Slay the Spire 2 and Esoteric Ebb hitting impressive heights in terms of both review scores and public reception. But we still have a huge amount to look forward to this year, and in this video I'm going to run through some of my most anticipated indies that are yet to release. The keen-eyed among you might notice that I already made an indie game look ahead for the year 2026, but here in April I had a fresh batch of 20 indie games that have only come to my attention since then, whether they've just been announced or whether they've just made it onto my radar. So if you find yourself wondering things like where's Mixtape, that was in the January video and I will link it on the end card of this video if you'd like to hop straight in and see that one too. As always, your likes and comments are appreciated. If you enjoy the video to help other people find it, you can sub to the channel for more from me in your feed, and I will tell you all about this channel's wonderful Patreon in a while. And with all of that said, let's get to the games. As someone who has bounced off Crosscode a couple of times now, I wasn't expecting Alabaster Dawn to be my thing, but the demo has been living in my mind rent-free since I tried it at NextFest. The story's pretty familiar and a bit Breath of the Wild or Fallout-like. You awaken from a suspension vault to find the world that you knew has been wiped away by some kind of invasion, and something that immediately made this game stand out to me was the movement, because it's fast. You really do sprint across this landscape, you feel nimble, you feel light on your feet, and that comes in sharp contrast to the more slow and steady movement found in many pixel RPGs. The combat is great too, with real-time tactical elements and a promising complex power-up system, so all the signs are good for this one. It doesn't have a release date yet, but we're expecting early access this year on Steam, and while I normally wait for the full release on games that I'm really excited about, Alabaster Dawn might just be one that makes me pull the trigger early. I've got a really good feeling about that one. That's Alabaster Dawn. Now, I'm not the world's biggest fan of cozy farming type games, but now and then a cozy game will do something interesting and catch my eye, and Beastro is one such game. It's a colourful third-person game with a lot packed into it. We play as Panko, a young chef who is suddenly tasked with taking over a restaurant, and that means sourcing ingredients, whipping up dishes, and dealing with locals. All of these things have mini-games attached to them, and so far so cute, but that's not all, because to my surprise, in the back half of the trailer, the game revealed that it has a cooking-based deck-building element to it. I really enjoyed the striking papercraft art for this section of the game, so there's a lot to parse here between the RPG stuff, the NPC stuff, the farming, the cards, and I think like any good recipe, this game's success will hinge on how well all of these ingredients melt together and combine into the final game. The proof is in the pudding, as they say, and we can all find out together whether Beastro passes the smell test when it comes to Steam, PS5 and Xbox in the spring of 2026. There's been a recent trend for games where we're trapped in the pages of a book, or games that look like historical manuscripts. We've had Pentiment, we've had Procession to Calvary, we've had The Plucky Squire, and now we're getting Chronoscript, The Endless End. In this game we play as an editor who gets trapped in the pages of a 1,000-year-old unfinished manuscript and has to find their way out of this endless story. This plays out in platforming and combat with some visible nods to Hollow Knight, such as in the grand wrought iron elevators that dot the map. And I was also super impressed by some moments in the trailer that shows spilled ink that lets you travel across your character's real-world desk and go to pages that you've been into before. So there might be a time travel element to the puzzles here as we try and change the story and edit it towards the ending that we want. No release date on this one, but it's coming to Steam and PS5 sometime this year. That's Chronoscript, The Endless End. One game that does have a release date, and an imminent one at that, is Dosa Divas. This is the latest RPG from Outer Loop Games, makers of Falcon Age and Thirsty Suitors, and it's definitely their most ambitious game yet. It's a colourful miniature JRPG that has turn-based combat, an overworld map, various areas to explore, side questing, and a tight family narrative. And while all of these systems might be a little cut down compared to the bigger JRPGs that we're used to, it also has a breezy 15-hour runtime, so it's definitely intended as a smaller RPG experience. So if you've ever been put off a 50-hour RPG because of that monster runtime, or if you're an established RPG fan that wants a little bite-sized snack between big games, then this could be just the ticket. It certainly packs a lot of charm, including a colourful take on South Asian futurism and a winning cast of voice-acted characters, including a customizable food truck mech that you can take into battle. That's Dosa Divas, coming to all the consoles and Steam on April 14th. Deck builders have been a really big thing in recent years. Slay the Spire blew the doors open and then Balatro charged through them, and ever since then there have been a wave of games using those ingenious systems as inspiration. I try a lot of them and I have fun doing it, but Fame or Folly captures that Balatro magic in a way that few others have. Each run is a rags to riches story where you start out as a bleak troupe of entertainers with just a lone minstrel and a couple of drunks hanging around, but as you learn how to play your cards right and unlock more of them, you'll soon find yourself with a big circus troupe including magicians, warriors, jousting knights, and mystical oddballs to draw from. Instead of chips, the main currency here is applause from the crowd, and you can get multipliers on that as well, but cards will also introduce outrage, and if that hits the top of the meter, then your hand will bust. You have a certain amount of days to win over the town that you are in, and you can draft cards between hands, meaning that your build is a constant work in progress, and one card can change everything. I hopped into the recent playtest, and I found that every single hand and every single run was a really engrossing ride, to the point where I accidentally sank 13 hours into it before the save wipe. And the version I played was a cut down one. There are going to be tons of decks and hundreds of cards. I can't wait to see the full scope of this game when it comes out later this year. This is one to watch for sure, and there's a demo coming in the summer apparently, so keep your eyes peeled for it. That's Fame or Folly. A card game with a very different, darker vibe is Forbidden Solitaire, which draws more from the uncanny mystery of games like Inscription, where the card game is just one part of the picture. The developer describes it as a card-slashing horror game about unearthing the contents of a cryptic 95 CD-ROM that should never have existed. And on top of that cryptic description, the trailer shows some B-movie style FMV sequences, a fictional retro operating system, news broadcasts of staged protests about the game, and a blood-splattered version of Solitaire mixed in there as well. I'm not fully sure what to expect from this game in a way that I really like, and it's already picking up traction with over 10,000 demo downloads ahead of a mooted April release, so it might be with us sooner rather than later. That's Forbidden Solitaire. Rounding up this little cards and Balatro-likes roguelike section is Gambonanza, a super addictive roguelike that uses a twisted version of chess as its foundation. In this game, you play short rounds of chess on a small board, and you start out with only a couple of pawns and a king, and then between rounds you can buy new pieces, upgrade your existing ones, evolve certain board tiles to have special properties, and unlock over 150 gambits that will change the rules of the game. I played the demo of this one at the recent Next Fest, and I can't wait for the full thing. It really got its hooks into me, and it looks like the boards get bigger and more complex, so you might have to flex your chess muscles in the final version. Steam only for now, and I really hope this one has controller support so we can play it on our Steam decks. That's Gambonanza, coming soon with a full release on May the 1st. If you saw last month's video about the best open world indie games of all time, you will know that I love sweeping adventures like Sable and Outer Wilds, and miniature freewheeling holidays like Alba and A Short Hike, and Hela is a game that will be angling for a place on that list. It's a wholesome adventure in which you play as an anthropomorphic mouse who is also the helper of a good witch, and when you set out on a long journey through the forest, she gifts you a magic backpack that will let you jump higher and glide through the air, which opens up some exciting new ways to explore the forest. Being a mouse, you can also enter burrows, wander through the giant roots of trees, carry out side quests for other animals, and solve little traversal puzzles along the way. This game seems to be based around having a pleasant time exploring its sun-dappled world, and the devs describe it as a living playground with a sense of fun built into its physics-based traversal. I think it's really refreshing to see a miniature open-world game that has a focus other than combat. That's Hela, coming to all the consoles and Steam sometime in 2026. That brings us to the halfway point of this video, and if you're still watching now, you might be just the kind of indie game loving person who'd enjoy this channel's Patreon. But wait, before you click away, hear me out. Not only do you get an invitation to our quiet patron Discord where you can hang out and talk to like-minded indie game fans every day, you get behind the scenes blogs about how I make the videos, you get extra podcasts about off-topic things, and if you join at the $3 tier or above, I will personally DM you a thank you and a Steam code for a hand-picked indie game that I think you should know about. Link on the screen now if you'd like to take a look, and as always, special thanks to my boss tier patrons who get a shout out on every single video I make. So special thanks to King Champ, Susanna Maria, Drellesh, Reistic Studies, Nate, and Noah. And with that, let's get on with the video. This next one is something for retro game fans. It's a Game Boy style Metroidvania called Lelu, in which you play as a clockwork toy who has somehow become conscious and decided to try and find their way out of the toy factory and just go and be a living toy out there in the world, I guess. But the factory has an eccentric guardian who is kind of mysterious and has other ideas about your future, so there'll be traps, puzzles, and challenges along the way to your freedom. This includes other sentient toys who've been tasked with trying to stop you in your tracks. This game had a really well-received demo, and it's still up on Steam if you'd like to give it a try. The developer Jamie Rowan has said that he's targeting a Q2 release, and now that we're in April, it's Q2 right now, so expect this one in the near future. That's Lelu. And a similarly monochromatic game with a very different atmosphere is Light Odyssey, a Souls-like boss rush game from Sun Games, with only a 2026 release window for now. It has a really striking textural visual style that's kind of scribbly. It's like a dream about a black and white version of Hyper Light Drifter, but this game is really all about the combat, and the bosses look colossal and ferocious. They have complex attack patterns, area of effect attacks, and the ability to smash the ground out from under your feet. And it even looks like some of these fights might have Monster Hunter style phases where you chase your prey to the next area, or they chase you, snapping at your heels. If you enjoyed boss rush games like Fury, Titan Souls, or Nano Apostle, this could be one for you. It only has that 2026 release window for now. That's Light Odyssey. Now, as you might guess, these videos take quite a lot of research to put together, but now and then a big one slips through the cracks, and on my first indie game guide at the start of the year, people in the comments were surprised that I hadn't included Neverway. I had seen a trailer for it, but honestly it had just gone out of my head, so thanks to you guys for making sure it is firmly on my radar. It's an intriguing looking horror-adjacent life sim being made by a two-person team comprised of Pedro Medeiros, the pixel artist for Celeste, and Isadora Sofia, the creator of the Murder Engine. If you combine that with Outer Sloth stepping in as the publisher, and the Hyper Light Drifter and Fez composer Disaster Peace coming on board for the soundtrack, and it sounds like a bit of an all-star project. I like the gameplay concept too, because it mixes together cozy farming, dating, and other life sim mechanics with a Lovecraftian story in which a dark netherworld is starting to spill into ours. It only has a 2026 release window for now, so expect to see it on Steam and Switch later this year. That's Neverway. And for anyone seeking a more traditional pixel art RPG experience, Nocturne might be a game that fits the bill. It's set in a mysterious digital afterlife and mixes lush, detailed post-apocalyptic landscapes with rhythm-based combat. The final game promises over 100 individual music tracks for you to master, and it has a deep story with over 100,000 words of text as well. Given all of that, I was surprised to read that it has a manageable 10-hour runtime, which is music to my ears, and after you hit credits there is an arcade mode, so any rhythm game fans can keep going with the rhythm gameplay. On top of all that, the boss music was recorded by the Slovak National Symphony Orchestra, which gives those confrontations some heft. That's Nocturne, coming to Steam on June 30th. And you know, despite otters being charming critters that float around hand in hand with their lifelong mates, we don't see a lot of games about them. There is even a co-op game on Steam called That One Otter Game, but it's getting some company this year with the arrival of Otterly Lost, a game about a curious otter who gets washed out far to sea after a strange and sudden natural disaster. The journey home includes poking around in the depths of the ocean, uncovering secrets and treasures that will boost your skills, meeting other animals with side quests to give and stories to tell, and a sense of flowing motion to the swimming traversal. I really like the vibes of this game, especially because it promises some ecological themes in the gameplay. We already have enough games about building and mining and hunting, so I'm very much here for games that flip that on its head and let us give back to nature in gameplay. So I'll be keeping an eye on Otterly Lost to see if that 2026 Steam release window gets firmed up sometime soon. The 2026 Indie Game Guide video that I published back in January featured the wonderful looking Garbage Country, a game about driving over heaps of human trash, but we're getting another more wholesome 4x4 traversal game this year as well, in the shape of the much anticipated Over the Hill. The devs say that it's a love letter to the golden age of off-roading with iconic vehicles from the 60s through to the 80s, and that developer is actually the person behind the somewhat challenging but very stylish Art of Rally, a really cool game that I just could not get the hang of. I felt like I I was just decimating the countryside landscapes by bashing into fences and trees when I was trying to gracefully drift around corners. But this game promises to be a more relaxed experience. It's more about open world exploration, about ploughing through deep mountain snow, figuring out how to cross rivers covered in boulders. And there's a multiplayer aspect to this one too, where you can road trip with friends. It also promises challenge modes for those who want them, and I'm quite eager to see more of that. I would like to know if you can tow a friend who gets stuck, and if getting stuck is even possible. There is also a hub where you can customize your car, so that's something to look forward to. We only have a 2026 release window on Steam for now, with console versions coming later, but this is one road trip that I can't wait to go on later this year. That's Over the Hill. Only 5 games to go, and the next one is one for the horror fans. It's Tenebris Somnia, which translates literally to dark dreams or dreams from the shadows. And some of the imagery in the trailer for this game is enough to give me nightmares alone, because although it is a 2D pixel art survival horror game, it's being made by an award-winning Argentinian film crew. And just now, as I was watching this trailer, it has some pretty alarming sequences, so I popped over onto the Steam page and discovered an update saying that it will feature live-action cutscenes as well. So as well as seeing these incredibly creepy enemies and pixel art, you will also be seeing them on film. I feel like the world's attention turns to horror games around Halloween season, so I expect an October release date for this one. It might just be this year's indie horror hit, that's Tenebris Somnia. This next one wasn't on my radar at all at the start of the year, but it smashed into the public consciousness, or at least the video game aficionado consciousness, I guess, when it won the coveted Seamus McNally Grand Prize at the Independent Games Festival earlier this year. It's a game made by the designer A.P. Thompson, who must have set some kind of record by winning that award 2 years in a row, because he was also on the team for the 2025 winner Consume Me. And Titanium Core is an eccentric narrative strategy puzzle game with a very distinctive pink and blue visual style. In this game, you arrive at the Titanium Court and you must shuffle the landscape around you to keep the court safe from harm with castles encroach on its terrain. But as well as this block sliding puzzle section, you also take breaks to meet other blue-skinned Smurf people who live there. So there's a story element to this game as well. It's stylish, it's surreal, it's interesting, and it's coming out later this year via Fellow Traveller. This might just be one of the big indie hits of the year. That is Titanium Court. In Q3, we're expecting Tukoni Forest Keepers to hit Steam. This is a very cozy puzzle adventure game based on books by the Ukrainian artist Oksana Bula. And I think the fact that it's based on the work of an artist really sings when you look at it moving on the screen, because that visual style really is something else. It's an absolute treat to look at, with gnarly trees, tangled roots, textured grass, and really interestingly designed and quite gorgeous watercoloured creatures roaming around the forest as well. The gameplay looks kind of simple, a bit like those Moomin games that have been coming out for the last couple of years, but very cute. It looks like it involves foraging, cooking, and brewing herb teas for you and your friends. And the whole game really has a strong, encompassing, autumnal kind of atmosphere with falling leaves and rusty bracken and exposed roots. The vibe of this one really reminds me of the underrated The Wild at Heart, which I really recommend that you pick up if you haven't played it. I think a Q3 release date really suits this one with that atmosphere, so let's hope it hits that release window as a seasonal treat. I will certainly have one eye peeled for it. That is Tukoni Forest Keepers. This next one is one that I kind of threw in at the last minute, and there isn't much information out there about it, but it really did catch my eye actually. It's called Songs of the Shore. It's a breezy collectathon about picking up shells on a beach and little more, it seems. The Steam page is very bare, but sometimes you just want a low-stakes game to tinker around with, you know? I really like big, bold, systems-heavy games as much as the next person, but when you're watching a stream or a movie, you kind of want something relaxed, and card games often hit that sweet spot for me, but I think this one would as well. It's just a little bit of exploration, a little bit of collectathon gameplay. That's Songs of the Shore, coming to Steam in 2026. And then finally on this A to Z list comes Zwaard, which I guess is a play on Sword. It's an extremely promising open-world adventure with gorgeous, colourful, prismic visuals. It's top-down, so it has strong 2D Zelda and Hyper-Light Drifter vibes, especially the latter actually, because of the fast combat and the giant bosses. But the real USP of this one is that it has a wide range of customizable weapons to choose from. And when I say customizable weapons, weapons, you probably get a picture in your head, and this is not that. I don't just mean the usual basic upgrades here. You can actually deeply customize your weapons. You don't just replace the hilt or the blade, but you can replace individual components like the crossguard, the grip, the pommel, and the point, and I'm fascinated to see how such micro adjustments will play out in gameplay. That is the last game on this list, and that is Zwaard, coming sometime this year to Steam, Switch, and all of the consoles. And if you watch my January indie game guide video, link on the screen now if you didn't see it, I did a most hype top 10 at the end of that video, but some of those games have released already, like Cairn and Slay the Spire 2. Others I have cooled off on a little after playing demos, like Replaced, which didn't quite float my boat. And I think since making that video, I've come to realize that Don't Nod is actually a AA studio, because there's a couple of hundred people working there, and that feels way too big to be indie to me. So even though I'm really looking forward to Aphelion, I think I have to bump it off this list. So I thought I would rework my most hype list just to try and filter down the many games that I've talked about for you. So here it is. This is my reworked current top 10 most anticipated indie games of 2026. At number 10, we have Dosa Divas. This one really did come onto my radar with a splash. I think it's the combination of South Asian futurism and overt multiculturalism, and, you know, having a short runtime as an RPG really speaks to me, so I'm very excited about Dosa Divas. At number 9 is Gambonanza. The demo blew me away. I'm a sucker for a Balatro-like, and this chess-based adaptation of that winning gameplay really caught my eye. At number 8 is Over the Hill. It is replacing Garbage Country on the list because Garbage Country has turn-based tower defense stuff and Over the Hill is just about the driving, so it seems a bit more pure somehow. At number 7 we have Virtue and a Sledgehammer, the very promising looking combat game with an interesting narrative to boot. At number 6 is Nocturne, coming in with a bullet, that pixel art RPG. The art style and the combat in the trailer both really caught my eye, and I'm dying to see how it turns out. At number 5 we have Moves of the Diamond Hand. Moving up a space or two is the Cosmo D joint. Cosmo D just has a very interesting sensibility and makes very interesting games, and this is his biggest to date, so it goes in here at number 5. At number 4 we have Fame or Folly, in with a bullet. Playing 13 hours of something in a playtest tells you everything you need to know. I think this is the Balatro-like to watch in 2026, that's Fame or Folly. At number 3 is the highest new arrival from this video, is Alabaster Dawn, the pixel art adventure. As someone who really didn't gel with Crosscode, I wasn't expecting to fall in love with this one, but the demo completely won me over. That's Alabaster Dawn. At number 2 we have the long-awaited Pony Island 2 Panda Circus, the next game from Daniel Mullins after Inscription, which was my game of the year. It keeps getting closer. I think it's almost here. Let's hope we see it this year. That's Pony Island 2. And retaining its place at number 1 as my most anticipated indie game of the year is Mixtape. I know there are questions out there still about exactly what the gameplay is going to be in this one, but all of the hands-on previews that I've heard have been incredibly positive. I was a big fan of the Artful Escape, and I think I'm going to be a big fan of this one too. That is Mixtape, expected later in 2026. And that brings us to the end of this video. Please do give it a like, please do give it a comment, share it with a friend if you'd like to help this channel out, and there is of course the Patreon, link on the screen now if you'd like to check that out. Do check out the first indie game guide video of the year as well. And with that, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you on the next one.